Big Bad Bull is going to tell us about good old Menu RX.
At Menu RX,
Sorry, Bull.
let me tell you something. Dr. Jake May and his team at Menu RX, they are there for you. One-on-one counseling. You know, a lot of times, I used to belong to a chain weight loss company, right? And I'd go to a meeting, and there'd be 40 senior citizen women, 10 young women, and then me and one other fat guy. And I didn't feel like I was getting the attention I needed because the program was designed for one fits all. But what a woman has to go through to get in better shape is not going to be the same as me. And even within, different men respond differently to different foods. So whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you try to just get in better shape or find out what kind of food fuels your body best, check out Menu RX. They'll do metabolic testing, and you'll actually have scientists and doctors, how about that, not some nutball on the internet, helping you figure out what foods are best for you. And if you sign up for any plan with Menu RX today, you'll get a 1-year membership to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show absolutely free. That's a $60 value for $0. So go to menu-rx.com today. That's menu-rx.com.
Thanks for that, Bull. Let's talk a little NFL coaches right now, guys. PFF put out its rankings of the top 10 returning head coaches.
This is so stupid.
Entering 2025.
This is so stupid.
And how many are there, by the way? 24?
Returning?
Yeah.
There's 7 new coaches, so that would mean
25.
25, yes.
It's just, I just, like, how desperate are you for a ranking that this is dumb. It's a dumb ranking.
Of course it's dumb.
It's fine to talk about.
All these rankings are dumb.
It's fine to talk about, like, whatever.
Ranking coaches there's nothing really to back it up.
The most subjective.
Yeah.
So you can't put Mike Vrabel on this list because he's not a return. Like,
Which is dumb because he's coached before.
What are we doing?
So
we're making lists and talking about it. That's what we're doing.
It's June.
PFF puts out a list every day. So I would assume that they're going to have some other ridiculous lists over the next couple of
What's today?
days.
Best assistant coaches?
Top 10 defensive lines.
Today's list is the best list, the ranking of the best lists the PFF has put out.
Well, regardless of
yes.
the list, I did have a question I wanted to ask off this list, but I'll show you the top 10 real quick, then I'll show you what they said about the Browns coach, Kevin Stefanski. The top 10 returning head coaches, according to PFF, number 1 was Andy Reid, Sean Payton 2, Sean McVay 3, John Harbaugh 4, Mike Tomlin 5. We could argue the order in a sec, but let's see 6 through 10. Jim Harbaugh 6, Kyle Shanahan 7, Nick Sirianni 8, Dan Campbell 9, and Kevin Stefanski at number 10.
Go ahead.
Let me just tell you what they said about Stefanski, and then you could see if
before you say Stefanski, what's so funny is that the year before Sirianni would have been like 20th. Everybody was done with him.
He just won the Super Bowl, too.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But the year before, they had fallen apart. Remember, they fell apart at the end of the season.
Collapsed,
lost to Baker in the playoffs, and people wanted him fired. And now he's the number 9 coach returning.
Number 8. Please respect the list.
This
is what PFF said about Kevin Stefanski, why they ranked him.
I bet you it says 2-time coach of the year.
You will be right.
Oh,
this is what PFF said. There's 2 of these, Steve. The first one, Stefanski has dealt with a cascade of issues in Cleveland, particularly surrounding Deshaun Watson trade and the subsequent contract extension. However, the 2-time NFL Coach of the Year deserves respect as someone who gets his team to compete regardless of the circumstances. Stefanski broke the Browns' long playoff drought in 2020 and picked up the franchise's first playoff win since re-entering the league in 1999. He also led a surge to the postseason in 2023 with Joe Flacco as his quarterback from Week 14 onward. Stefanski has proven he can succeed if given adequate offensive tools. The team just needs to provide him with that to complement its excellent defense. Bull, I see you jumping at the bit.
Well, I think what people have done with Kevin Stefanski is what Browns fans have been doing with quarterbacks for years. So when Baker was above average here, and that's what he was here, at best. He's been obviously better than that in Tampa. But when Baker was above average here, everybody here was like, he's great. Because look what you're comparing it to for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I think, to me, it's the same with Kevin Stefanski. And I don't even have a problem with Kevin Stefanski coming back for one more year. But I don't buy that he's some guru or some great coach. I don't think there's that many great coaches. I think there's, every year, I say this all the time, I think there's 3 or 4 great coaches. I think there's 3 or 4 really horrible coaches. And then everybody else is somewhere in the middle. And if you give them enough time, maybe they're going to do well. You give them the right circumstances, they're going to do well. And the wrong circumstances, they're not. Kevin Stefanski is one of the mid-pack 25 guys, 24 guys, whatever it is. He's okay, but he's no genius. Compared to the other coaches they've had, he looks like a genius because they've hired one nitwit after the next here. But I mean, that's all anybody uses. He's proven he can get this. What has he proven? He's proven nothing. He's won 1 playoff game in 5 years. Just because it was worse before then doesn't mean that's good.
Would you say his first year with Odell 2020?
First year was 2020.
Yeah.
When they had Odell because
Odell had been here 1 year. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that 2020 team was his best offensive weapons?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
And what did he rank? In
they were 12th, I think, in offense.
I think it was 13th.
12th or 13th.
Scoring, yeah.
And ever since then, he has not had quite that talent, right?
I think that's fair. I mean, he had Nick Chubb his first 3 years.
I can see why they say he's been good, even though he doesn't have the offensive tools. I can see where they coming from in that standpoint. My thing with him has always been about the fact that he was the quarterback guru. And don't get me wrong. Yes, Jacoby Brissett played good ball. Baker played good ball. PJ Walker.
Don't start with PJ Walker, please.
He won games, boy.
He sucks.
He won games. And it's because, see, that's what gives him more credibility.
No.
Is that you would sit there and say, PJ Walker sucks, but yet they still won games.
How many games did they win with PJ Walker?
They beat the Niners.
They did beat the Niners.
Look at the Niners. They've fallen off ever since.
So it's like I say, when I look at Kevin, I say he does a great job of he manages chaos. Like when you think something bad is going on in the organization or something crazy has happened, he does a great job of getting everybody to lock in, focus, and still perform well on Sundays. Now, there's a lot of things he needs to correct, and, somebody brought up the point when we were talking about on Tuesday about, DTR is a 5th-round quarterback. What did you expect out of this 5th-round quarterback? Like, of course he wasn't going to look good. It's not the fact that DTR was a 5th-round pick. It was the preparation to getting that 5th-round pick to play. And the reason why I can speak on this is because I played with C.J. Beathard. I played with Nick Mullins. And we sat there. These are guys that weren't drafted as high. Jimmy Garoppolo was the starting quarterback. Jimmy goes down. C.J. goes in. They still are able to win games. Nick Mullins go in. Kyle's still able to win games. And it's crazy to me that y'all to sit there and say because the guy was drafted in the 5th round, like that's an excuse. That's a legitimate excuse to why that offense just looked terrible.
Especially when the Browns have been hyping him up for 2
Exactly.
years.
Like you literally traded away guys to say that this guy was going to be the guy.
Right.
So that's why I don't look at that like that's just because he went 5th round. Like that is not an excuse for him not to look the way he looked when he had his chance to play. And like I said, the way that you prepared him to play was by not telling him he's playing. Like that's terrible coaching to me. So that's my only knock on Kevin. Outside of everything else, I don't have an issue with the play calling. I think he does a good job play calling. I think he does a great job of managing chaos. And I think he has a great relationship with a lot of his players. I think they respect him and they don't try to overdo certain things. I think he got a great handle on that. Outside of that, I don't have an issue with him. He's fine. That's why I think he's a good coach, because of those 3 things.
This team thrives in chaos, or thrives on creating chaos. They major in chaos. So it's kind of an important job description of the Browns head coach is to be a lion tamer and to keep order at some of these places. I've been a Kevin defender. I totally agree, by the way, on what you said about how they handled Dorian in terms of getting him ready to play and not really telling him. The game against Baltimore, I think that part was out of their control. They thought Deshaun was going to play, and then Deshaun rolled in Sunday morning and said, nope, not going. So that you can't really hold against them. The way they handled him last year, yes, I do put that on the coaching staff, the fact that they didn't even tell him he was going to be the backup, and then he gets hurt, and then Deshaun goes down with the Achilles, and now Dorian's thrust in there. I didn't love the way that they handled that. Overall, I think he has had success when he was given the right talent to work with. And the Deshaun thing was an absolute disaster. It has cratered the organization, and it sort of stains everything else. It touches every part of the organization. And it's real, like right now they're trying to lift this thing from the debris of the Deshaun. Like the Deshaun thing crashed, and now they got to sweep up the mess. I said before, if you were going to fire him, you should have fired him last year. Now, I don't see why you would fire him now. Why would you fire him now? If they win 4 games this year, 5, what'd you expect? This is a bad team. Everyone's going to tell you it's going to be a bad team. If you want to get rid of these guys, you should have done it after last season. If you believe somebody's got to pay the price for Deshaun, no.
Okay.
No.
Do you have faith that they're going to get it right at quarterback? Do you have a faith that, let's say they do draft a quarterback top, you think they're going to get the right guy? Because I don't have a lot of faith in it.
I don't have a lot of faith necessarily right now, no. But let's wait and see how this season plays out. Let's see what these quarterbacks look like.
You're right. The way this thing's set up, it would seem silly to fire Kevin Stefanski. On the other hand, if they do go 3-14 again,
there's going to be a lot of people screaming,
yeah,
this guy's terrible.
And you can understand.
But going into this, everybody outside of me, of course, has them winning. What's
you got them going to the Super Bowl?
No,
I ain't got them going to the Super Bowl.
Their over/under is 5.5.
I thought it was 4.5.
No, it's 5.5. But it's like minus 150 to bet the under. So that means the under is favored.
So if they win 5 games next year, I don't understand how people can sit there and scream fire him. Like going into the season, we knew this what it was. Now I can say fire him because I'm expecting an 8-9 season.
Well, can't we argue that if he's a good coach, you should get more out of it, right?
Mike Tomlin with equally as, maybe not equally, but they had Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph. They've had their
they win 8-9 games.
Quarterback
they win
wins
9
8-9
games every year.
And we keep saying they'll never be in a position.
You should have fired him last year.
Right. That's what
I'm just saying.
said.
If that's the case.
If you're going to fire him, fire him.
But I'm saying I don't see why people would stand out there with picket signs after this season saying fire him when going into this season we know that they're not going to be good. Except for me saying 8-9 because they're going to go 8-9.
People want to be surprised, right? They've been surprised. They were surprised 2 years ago with Flacco and a combination of misfit toys playing quarterback.
Well, Kenny Pickett started. Word to Jason.
Kenny Pickett.
Listen, he could. If Joe outplays him in training camp and Kenny looks atrocious,
they could care less.
Joe can still win the job, but if you're gonna get me sidetracked on this whole thing.
Do it. Get him sidetracked.
All right, this is the only thing I'm going to say. Is I don't think I've said this yet on the show. I said this morning. If Joe Flacco is the clear starter for this team, if that's who they wanted to start, why didn't they sign him when free agency opened? Why did they wait a month into free agency and trade for another quarterback first before signing him?
I don't have a great answer to that, Jason. On the other hand, they only traded a 5th-round pick. It's not like they gave up a lot to get him.
But it was the priority. They made Kenny Pickett the priority. Joe Flacco is a free agent for a month. And they did nothing.
Because they understand that Joe is going to go off a cliff at some point. With Kenny Pickett, there is the unknown that maybe if I talk to this guy and clear the game up a little bit more, like maybe there's something there. Like maybe he's a first-round talent. Maybe they just wasn't. Maybe in Pittsburgh,
made a bad draft pick.
maybe in Pittsburgh they just didn't explain the offense to him clear enough to where he got a good grasp on it. Maybe
You really think he's a first-round talent?
He went in the first round.
So then is Shedeur Sanders a 5th-round talent?
He went in the 5th round.
Okay. That's you said it. Don't blame me.
He went in the 5th round.
You're saying he's a 5th-round talent. Go ahead.
think about this.
So that means Tom Brady's a 6th-round talent.
Yeah, so think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. If Shedeur,
Yeah.
and this is going, I mean, no disrespect to all you Shedeur lovers.
Oh boy, here it comes.
But if Shedeur,
I'm gonna move over here.
If Shedeur Sanders was a bona fide 1st-round pick,
Yes.
there will be nothing that will stop an
That is
organization
correct.
You
from
are
taking that guy.
1,000%
You are correct.
Because I just watched, what's the kid from Marshall?
But there won't be
had
people,
like a
there'll
dumb,
be people that won't believe you, but you're right. Now, that being said, not that we want to go down this whole road, I don't think he dropped to the 5th round.
I
because of
agree.
talent.
No, I agree with you.
He didn't. He didn't get taken.
I agree.
Not getting taken in the first round. That was
Clearly,
talent.
watching him in practice right now tells you that
He
he's
should have
better
been
than
drafted
the 5th
before
round
the 5th
pick.
round.
Yes,
obviously,
clearly.
But if somebody thought he was worth a 1st round pick, he would have. And maybe there were teams that thought he was worth a 1st round pick, but they didn't need a quarterback, so they didn't draft him. You can't say 30. I mean, you can say 32 teams passed on him. That is factually correct. But a lot of those teams, what if maybe the Bengals and the Broncos thought he was a 1st round talent? But
doesn't it come to a point where, I mean, you're only one injury away from that franchise quarterback. If you like him that much, why not burn a 3rd or 4th round pick on him?
if you're a team like the Bengals, you can't do that.
Why?
Why can't you? Why? Because of who he is?
If you're the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head who the backup quarterbacks are there.
The Chiefs, well, the Bengals got a good backup, whose name is now escaping me.
Jake
right now.
Browning.
He's so
Jake
good you can't think of his name.
No, but he played great when they put him in 2 years ago.
And Chad Henne was the longtime backup for the Chiefs. I don't think he's still there.
No,
He's
No,
was there
not.
a couple of years.
Yeah, and I get the argument that when you're a backup, you blend into the curtains, like you don't want anyone
Yeah.
drawing. I get that part, but I'm just saying, you're one injury away.
Yeah, but if you're
from,
if you're a team like the Bengals,
The Chiefs signed Gardner Minshew.
yeah, if you're the
That's pretty
Bengals,
good.
if
That's
you're
pretty good
the
backup.
if you're the
That is a good
Bengals or the
backup.
Chiefs, you need to draft the Bengals especially because their
backup,
defense was so
actually.
bad last year. They needed to draft players to help the roster because they want to win a Super Bowl.
I hear you. I get it. I don't know. If we're talking about the most important position, and you really think he's a first-round talent, and you have a franchise quarterback, and he's sitting there in the 3rd round and the 4th round, I'm just surprised you keep passing on him.
Yeah.
That's all.